What happens when two radically awake minds meet in one space?
Welcome to the Success Blueprint podcast, where we dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship and success. Join us in uncovering the stories behind the triumphs, challenges, and invaluable lessons learned by today's most inspiring entrepreneurs. From real estate moguls to tech innovators, we explore the secrets to their success and share actionable insights to help you on your own journey. If you're looking to unlock your full potential and achieve your dreams, you're in the right place. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered to take your own entrepreneurial endeavors to the next level.
Welcome everyone to the Success Blueprint. I am so excited for you guys to be joining us today. I've got a question for you. What happens when two radically awake minds meet in one space? One known for dismantling illusions, and the other known for navigating inner storms and emerging with truth. Well, you guys are going to find out, because today's conversation brings together two powerful disruptors and soul-driven leaders. Adam is the founder of the Mental Mastery Alliance, a movement, a mindset, and a mission dedicated to awakening human potential, dismantling limiting beliefs, and encouraging radical self-inquiry. He's a philosopher, a podcaster, a web architect, a spiritual entertainer, which I want to hear more about. He blends the metaphysics with street smarts, challenging the mainstream narrative and guiding others back to their authentic voices through coaching, media, and high-frequency presence online. I've seen a lot of your videos and they are very entertaining. Joining him is Kyla, and Kyla is a true modern mystic, her feet planted in the real world. She's a boy mom, which is awesome because I know all three of her kids, a hockey mom, a yogi, a tattooer, a Reiki practitioner, a musician, and an intuitive soul. After life and health events forced her to go inward, she began her journey of deep discovery, one that now fuels her voice, her art, and her mission to unite kindred spirits and to ignite real conversations together. So, together, we're not just going to talk about the normal, we're actually going to talk about transformation today, because these guys have lived it. So in this episode, as we navigate the questions from everything to be what is healing, success, identity, and alignment for both of you guys, I want to know what really resonates deeply with you. So let's get started. Adam, I would love to hear a little bit more about you before you created the Mental Mastery Alliance, because we talked a little bit about that in advance, but I want you to tell our audience.
Absolutely. Everybody's got an origin story, and a true origin story is fantastic. I come from, I guess, a history and a representation of self that is lackluster. I wanted more. I wouldn't have minded getting a hug from my mom as a kid. And this is one of those things where you can look at your life and you can say, you know, how do I want to represent myself? How do I want to appear? How am I going to show up? And in my youth, a lot of it was self-hate, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. But a lot of it was self-hate, and that transcended into external hate. It made me very sarcastic. I had to protect myself a lot, and I felt that nobody was here. I never got that comfortable, we're a team, we're here for you, we're going to do this. I moved around a lot. I never really had anybody I could trust or like, and the kids are dicks, bottom line. I don't know if I can swear on this show, but I might.
Go ahead.
So it's tough. It's tough to be an insecure, overweight child that never got enough hugs from his mom, especially in a world where if you say that, you're a little bitch, and that, or perceived as, I should say. And for me, it was the truth. It was how I was internally. So this parlayed out for me into, I guess, trying to understand why I was so hard on myself. The interesting thing is knowing that I was able to ask the questions as opposed to just simply accepting the reality as infinite or indefinite or just what it is what it is, as opposed to being like, oh, if I don't like this, I can change it. Especially when you're like 14, 15, 16, there's no self-help. They existed, but it's not like we're out there trying to figure things out. It's that we're out there being beat up by the entire world. It's definitely different for male and female. And honestly, knowing what I know now, I would not have wanted to be a young girl growing up, because that sounds like hell. But as a young man, there are certain things that you're taught to do. There are certain things that you're manipulated into doing. With regards to media and all that sort of stuff. And when you're blind to it, it's just a whole long list of tomfoolery. So as I grew, I was more protective and more direct. I would have given the shirt off my back to my closest friends whenever I made them and found them. But the idea of being connected was never a part of anything for me. So I just limped through life. I got lucky with some gambling. Some poker was always fun for me, but sports betting was always an interesting. I got real lucky young. So I had a little bit of extra cash, and then I got into sales and sales training and sales working, and I got really good at it, and I got paid to travel around and teach companies how to sell. And then I hated that too. So I hated the idea of manipulation, and I was still doing my best to figure out my place in the world. There's one statement about me that I've talked about on my own show numerous times, and it's people would call me, it's not misogynistic, but it's like, why are you so mean to women? Whatever that term is. Maybe misogynistic, I don't know, like, or bigotry, or I don't know. Anyway, like, why are you misogynist? Why do you hate women so much? And that really pissed me off, oddly enough, because it's like, I don't hate women. First off, I hate myself. And second off, I treat everyone equally. And it was that statement actually that sort of lit a fire into my ass. That was like, hey, I'm doing what I'm doing because this is how I feel is my survival. And they're perceiving it through their trauma. And this is, again, no studying, but this is one of the first signs to me that was like, it doesn't matter who or what you do. These people are only ever going to remember you based on that moment in time that you engage with them and how you make them feel at that very instance. So every single one of us has a story to tell. Every single one of us has a life that we've lived. And every single one of us tries to maintain some version or some form of image that they think that they are. And so they'll go tooth and nail. They'll fight to the death, convince you that they are who they're attempting to portray. And the truth is, that's just an image that you've created inside your head. There's no two versions of you equal in anybody else's head. So you could be you, the entirety of who you are all the way through, but you have a bad minute, a bad moment, and you interfere with somebody in line or something like that. You step on somebody's toe and they hate you for the rest of your life. And they'll talk about you. If they're a low, weak person, they're going to talk about you, and they're going to attempt to ruin your reputation. And when you're a younger person, you worry about your reputation. You worry about this. So you try to act and pretend and be something and defend yourself against somebody who was in a bad mood that you inadvertently interacted with at a bad point and moment in time in your life. And then on top of that, we listen to what they've said about us. You cut them off. You're an asshole. You're a piece of you're a bigot. And we think maybe we are. And then we look back at our lives, even right now, to your listeners right now, you can look back at your life, and the majority of your highlight reel or where your anxiety and or depression come from are how you interacted with society or how you believe you were perceived in any sort of interaction that you may or may not have had with any individual out there. And you never allow yourself to see the saving grace. You never allow yourself to say, oh, well, I also did this, this, and this. No, you only play that highlight reel. I'm a piece of because of this, this, and this, or I've done this, or I've done that, or I beat myself up for this, that, and the other thing. And all of this was resonating and running through my head in a myriad of chaos because I'm also ADHD. So I don't have the ability to have a cognitive clear thought. Mind you, I can do 8 projects all at once. So all of this stuff runs through my head. All of this stuff burns through my head. And I think to myself, okay, this is not where I want to be. I need to start showing truths. I need to start breaking free, and I need to love myself. And the only way to do that is to be true to yourself, the truest version of yourself possible. So to eliminate all the distractions. So in 2017, I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I quit doing recreational drugs, and I loved cocaine. And we were in the sales industry, we were in the sales world, and if I didn't have an 8-ball in my pocket at all times, like something was wrong. So I would wake up in the morning, do a hero line, and then go get a cup of coffee. Like my life had gone skewy. Again, apologies for the swearing.
No, it's okay.
And so when you get to this point and you sort of you're laying in bed, you're going, I need all of these chemicals to get up. I need all of these chemicals to go back to sleep. I need all of this stimulant and stimuli to be an active member of society. I'm lost, 100% unequivocally lost. And then for me, COVID hit. And so I'm kind of like jumping over a few things because I had been awake. I was aware of 9/11 being a bit askew. And then I just sort of started seeing through holes in stories, and I started asking questions. In my entire life, the more questions you ask, the more the third dimension is going to try and shut you down. The harder you push against this reality, the harder it pushes back. So I kept growing and I kept just being me and doing this stuff and facing challenges and adversities. You've talked about this being the second or third iteration of your podcast. Well, technically I'm on the third iteration of mine, and both times I lost the 100,000 that we had gotten up to because of the whole seed thing, which doesn't make sense right now, but you blow something up and all of a sudden iTunes, Spotify, they're not picking up your show, and they're going to combat you because you sound like and have the same name as somebody else's show, which is your show. Anyway, that was a long story, but you realize that you face these trials and tribulations, and you realize after you're going through these things and you're beating these things and you're winning, you realize that every last ounce of anything that you've ever gone through, no matter how terrible it was or how great, was your lesson. So now instead of being upset with who you quote unquote were, you can say, this is who I was to get me to be here, to get me to understand me now. And if you want to hate me, and this is one of the things, one of my favorite quotes is, hating me for my past is like going into a place where I used to live and destroying it. I don't live there anymore. That's not my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we live in a world too where people aren't allowed to forgive. They want to throw your worst moments back at you. And the only reason they want to do that is because if you're worse than them, they feel better about themselves. These are all third dimensional people. This is where competition comes from.
Yeah.
When you get yourself into a fourth and fifth and sixth dimensional lineage, especially in your vibration, you're not in competition with anybody. People ask me all the time, how come you have other coaches on your podcast? Aren't you worried about losing business to them? And I said, no. For every one person willing to speak, there's a million willing to listen. And any one person can hear the same message over and over and over again from me, from Kyla, from anybody. But if they hear it from you, Colleen, then they'll be like, oh, now it resonates. So to me, it was never about making sure I had all the business. It was about making sure those who need to hear the message do hear the message, because I needed to hear the message.
Yeah.
So my life and my business and everything that I'm doing right now is essentially me taking my own growth, my own learning, my own comprehension, my own terrible days, my own great days, and doing my best to show the world that you're not who you think you are, to show the world that you're not your past. Your past is mandatory. It's a stepping stones, lessons. It got you to where you're going, but you are not a prisoner of it. And that's a huge, huge thing for me. So yeah, I can't do sales training anymore. I basically just do small business coaching. I do mindset coaching. I do anxiety and depression removal, all of it through the addition of new information, the addition of new comprehensions, and just basically having fun with everything that we are. Hope that wasn't too long of an answer.
No, that was brilliant. And it gave me so many directions that I want to go with this. Kyla, we're going to jump into you in just 1 second, but no, that was really awesome. You said about, people looking at your past and judging you and, being that three-dimensional person. So it's really interesting because an aha moment that I had for myself, and I can't even recall exactly how old I was, but I remember I was, I think early 20s. Someone had said to me, it wasn't to me specifically, but it was, I think I read a quote or someone had said it, that you may be the hero in some people's stories, but you are also the villain in others. For me, I was one of those people who are like, oh my God, how could I be a villain in somebody's story? Like, I don't purposely go out and hurt people. And, if I do hurt someone, I apologize. And then as I got older and I realized like repercussions of decisions and moves and choices we make, and then, the ripple effect out there that, yeah, absolutely, I am the villain in some people's stories. And it's interesting because I mentioned before about a past business partner who was going to be working with me in the coaching front. And I have nothing but like positive feelings towards her. I wish her all the best and everything like that. And when we went separate ways, and that was all good. And we wished each other well, but I obviously wasn't keeping up to date with her. And a while back, I looked back at some of the posts that she did during the time that we dismantled the business partnership. And without going into great details or anything because of privacy and whatnot, when I read one of her posts, I knew it was relating to me. I knew that she was talking about me. And while an older version of me might have been kind of pissed and being like, that's not what happened at all. Like, what are you talking about? Like, in my version, you came in and you were the villain. I looked at it and instead I was like, oh, wow, she was really hurting back then. And evidently, like literally months later after I saw that post, and I was just like, oh, like just wishing her well and hoping good things for her, because obviously I recognized I was the villain at that point in her story. A little while later, she reached out to me and she was like, it's been over 3 years since we've chatted. I always thought you were going to be a big part of my life. So it's kind of weird that you're not. And same thing, I thought she was going to be a big part of my life when we started the business partnership and everything. Like, I imagine, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. We're going to be like here's a partner who's like right on the same page as me. And then here we are. So I think it was interesting when you were talking about like the different dimensions of people. The other thing that I thought was really interesting was when you were talking about us believing the stories that people give and how that creates the limiting beliefs. Because you work a lot with dismantling limiting beliefs, and as do I. And when I started to do my NLP journey and learn about what limiting beliefs were and all of that kind of thing, because I started when I was, I think, 21, when I first took the first course. And of course it was Tony Robbins. But going back to then, I remember realizing how much of my life I had dictated according to limiting beliefs that were handed to me on that silver platter. And I was like, well, this must be the truth. So I was a very I used to be a very compliant person. Like I still to this day say, give me a task, I will do it. Give me the steps, because I'm a little ADHD like you. But if you give me the steps, I'll do it. Well, back then you could just tell me what to do and more or less I would believe it. But now as we've gotten older, I'm questioned much more of life and what we're supposed to actually think about it. Now, Kyla,
Well,
I know. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yes.
Right in my tagline on Instagram, it says, you must be able to question every single one of your beliefs. If you don't have the ability to question your deepest rooted beliefs, they become a limiting belief.
Yeah.
So even your core memories, your core beliefs are limiting. They're stopping you from accelerating, achieving. So many people right now are like, I'm only making 80 grand a year. I'm only making 120 grand a year. I'm out of time. I can't make any more money. That's false. You just have to figure out how people are doing it and how you want to engage in it and just go for it. You know, you can sell pictures of your feet if you want to. You know, there is always a way to make more money. So it's all just comes down to whatever you tell yourself. My dad used to tell me way back in the day, like one of the only quotes that I really truly remember from my dad was, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. And I think that was Lee Iacocca quote. So.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's funny because much like you, I have worked with other coaches as well, and coaches who are bigger coaches than me. Very interestingly, like I've got a couple of clients who are far bigger coaches than I am. And it's so interesting because I find that I am working on their limiting beliefs and I'm giving them the pep talk. And I'm like, there's no reason why you can't achieve this. Even though it seems like it's a big goal, here are the steps you need to do to get there. It really is, whatever you believe is the truth. And that's the truth.
Kyla, you're pretty quiet.
Yes.
What do you believe, Kyla? Let's get a little bit of background. Here's a fun thing too. I also host my own show, so there's so much in me that's like, hey, take over the hosting role, kick in there. But I've known Kyla for years and years and years, and she's actually the one that brought me into this show. So I'm kind of having a lot of fun with it. But I would love to hear Kyla's backstory. How did we get here, Kyla?
Exactly.
All right. Am I just jumping right in then? Is that your questions? Okay. How did we get here? I don't know. I think I've always been into like the bigger picture type of thing. Adam, we've been friends since high school. I will say that back in high school, I thought I knew I had a resting bitch face. I was trying not to trip over my own feet. I didn't think I was the nicest person. And I was just insecure as hell. And it's crazy because I'm friends with a lot of people from high school to this day. And some of them I haven't seen in 25 years, like yourself. But I get constant reassurance that I was like this nice person. And like I've had people reach out to me even recently saying like, I just want to thank you because you sometimes paid attention to me when no one else did. Or, you know, I remember walking down the hallway feeling like a total dweeb. And you said hi to me when I was with all my guy friends and they were like, you know her? And I'm like, what? I was trying to not trip over my own feet. My parents split up when I was in high school, and my mom ended up moving out and my sister moved out shortly after that. And I think for me, the easiest thing to do was to stay there. That felt like I was not making a decision because I was like doing nothing. My dad traveled a lot, so I was like alone a lot through high school. It was just me and my dog, and he'd be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I would be like doing the grocery shopping. And I never had big parties. I was, you know, not a partier. I didn't get into any trouble. I would come home if there's a thunderstorm because I'd be worried about my dog having a seizure. I was just a good kid who grew up fast and really cared about things and overthought a lot. And I think in my young 20s, I started to become really more acutely aware of energy and how much it plays into absolutely everything, to the point that when I was in really shitty headspaces, I remember living downtown Toronto and one time walking from King and Sherbourne, where I lived at the time, to Queen and around Trinity Bellwoods, where I worked. And twice on the way walking to work, had birds almost fly into my head and was like, what's with the birds? Because there aren't very many birds that you see, you know, up close and personal walking down Queen Street. And then it occurred to me that it was my energy. My chaotic energy was like bringing this chaos to me. And it was like, holy. And I think that started kind of this ripple effect of being more and more aware of that kind of thing. So it took me on a journey. I've been very into yoga for a very long time. Did my yoga teacher training, I think 13 years ago now, and did Reiki level 1 training at the same time. And I never really did anything with it other than just kind of use it for my own awareness. I did another kind of repeat training a year ago. I did the Reiki level 1 training again a year ago, and I'm going to do level 2. I just think it's neat. The more that we understand about energy and the way that it moves, we understand more about ourselves and the world around us. And as you both know, know, had a lot of changes over the last, I would say, 10 years. And some of them quieted me for a bit. I had to go quiet because of just to protect myself and my kids for a little bit, but it's not who I am in my core. It's not who I am in my heart. I'm a loud person who likes to know everyone and likes to try and love everyone, and also understands now that not everyone is worth loving. But I'm just kind of slowly getting my voice back. Over the last year and a half, I started doing a lot of stuff like Reiki healings, women's retreats, Ayurvedic healings, birth chart readings, all this stuff to just understand more and more about the world and myself. And it's really shaped and reshaped how I've felt about a lot of things where maybe I saw myself as a bit of a victim for a long time with certain situations and people, where I now understand how I attracted either the situation, or I maybe even had low enough self-esteem or self-worth to settle for that type of energy in my world. So now I'm in this place where I'm a mom of 3 boys, and I'm very busy, and I try to make time for creativity as much as I can. And I'm really big on being around good people, and I'm really finding it easy to set boundaries with people that I don't want to be around, or situations that I don't want to be in. So my circle is a lot smaller, but I fucking love my circle. I love that I'm friends with people that I've known for decades. I love that I can meet new people and just instantly click with them, like you. I think we just became instant friends from hockey, and really nitty gritty, getting right into the dirt right away. I feel like that with a few people though, but I'm not. So I think that's the difference there. I kind of hold my cards close unless I feel comfortable, but with you it was instant. So
we definitely connected on a different plane. I will say that, there's lots of relationships that I have out there, but you and I have definitely connected because we have so much in common too, right? We've talked about our paths and life experiences, and I know a lot of your back history and story and how I can understand and relate. So yeah, no, it's genuine, don't worry.
Yeah. And so I think, as you know, I work in the corporate world, but I do a lot of artsy things on the side, and that's really where my heart is. So when we talk about what makes your heart beat and what makes the world go round, I think we have to be responsible. We have to get the bills paid. We have to take care of our kids. We have to do all those things. But I think we owe it to ourselves to make some time for creativity, no matter what, or make time for the things that really get your heart going. So that's what I'm trying to do a whole lot more of lately. And this is a fun opportunity as well, of just being loud again and getting my voice back. And yeah.
I know, I love that. You are the person I go to for when there's any retreats coming up. I always want to know what you're doing, because it's things that I'm oh, I want to do that too. So you're a great source of information for all of that.
Thank you. There's some stuff coming up too that I'll get in touch with you on.
Yeah, absolutely. We can promote it on this as well. Now,
Colleen, have you done this? You're saying this is episode 7 of your new iteration. But have you shared with your audience your origin story?
Different aspects of it. It's quite interesting, because recently with the new rebranding that we're going to be going through, I was talking with Cassandra, and I'm well, what version of the story should I be telling? Because I have very much you were talking about how everything that ever happened to you brought you to know and learn who you are now and why you are. And before we even jumped on, I told you guys about how one of my most exciting parts is but who are you and why are you like that? I love learning that about people. I have had so many different phases of life, and I have had such colorful, creative stories that I remember back when I was younger. I used to dance, and my dance teacher at the time would be you should write a book about your chaotic life, because there has been many different crazy scenarios. Kyla, I think you saw the video of last year, what happened when the guy stole my wallet. Did I show you that? So that's a version of me. That's a story of me. So the quick story, Adam, is that there was, and I'm not suggesting for anyone to do this, because I do absolutely understand how reckless we were.
Yes.
I gotta frame this for you. I am 5'2". I am not a tall person, and I don't look like I'm strong either. So, but I am strong. But again, not condoning this, not suggesting that anybody do this. This was a story where it all just worked out perfectly and everything happened in my favor, which generally does happen for me to a degree. I really do go through. If I told you about my last year and a half, you would understand. But it all does come together for me perfectly somehow.
I'm going to want Cole's notes on the past year.
Yeah, I can give you Cole's notes on that, but I'll give you the story first. So what happened was we were celebrating my birthday. My girlfriends and I went out. We decided we were going to have a low-key one, just have some drinks and go get some snacks and just chill out at our friend's hot tub. We are about to do our first shot of the night, and I realize, oh, my phone's lighting up and it's telling me that my credit card is being declined. I'm like, that's weird. This is spam. I'm being like, someone's trying to get my information. And then I realized it was my actual credit card number. So then I'm like, oh. So then I look for my wallet. Wallet's gone. They had stolen my wallet out of my girlfriend's purse when we were in the grocery store shopping for snacks.
Ugh.
So one of my closest friends is like the ride or die, where you're like, if anything bad is happening in your life, you want to call her because she's very clever, very smart, and doesn't just think on her toes. She runs as she's thinking. So she's like, get in the car. We're going to find your wallet. We literally get in the car and we are hitting every single spot that I'm getting flagged that my credit card's being used. At a certain point, we've hit everywhere in the town. About 20 minutes into it, and her brand new boyfriend calls her, by the way, and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, we're chasing the guy. And he's like, who are you chasing? What are you talking about? I became a red flag in that friendship. But anyways, so I'm like, go to Walmart. I bet he's at Walmart. So we go to Walmart. We start at the back and we're sweeping. Like, I'm talking like we're SWAT sweeping. At the time too, we called my girlfriend, who is dispatch in our town for the police. And because she was working, didn't call her on a private line, called her on the actual line, ended up getting her. And so they were like, okay, well, we'll send police to your house to come take your statement and everything. We're like, no, we're chasing him. So we're going through Walmart. I see his car. I had gotten a picture of his car from a lady who was at one of the stores that he had used my card with. She gave me a security picture. I'm about to walk in. I see the car. So I literally walk up to the car. And you know how people have the fight or flight response? Mm-hmm. My innate response is the fight response. Like, I will fight if I am being challenged. And I do try to assess the situation. At this time, I did not, but I do try to assess the situation for danger.
You
but
said
if
you're
I'm
5'2", right?
Yeah, I'm 5'2".
So that's the Chihuahua gene that was.
It is like the Chihuahua gene. I'm like, meh! So I'm like, I can't believe. So I see the car and I'm like, that's the car. And I literally walk up to the car and I see the guy sitting in the passenger seat. I have to tell you what I was wearing, by the way, too. I was wearing a bubblegum pink pair of sweat shorts and a bubblegum pink matching sweater and my white runners. So I looked like soccer mom. Like, I looked like, yeah, that's the woman that you're going to steal a wallet from, because what's she going to do? I walk up and I'm like, oh my God, it's you. And he's like, do I know you? And I'm like, no, but I know you. And then I start swearing. And then it comes to light that I'm like, you stole my wallet, you've been using it. And at this time, my girlfriend's got the police on the phone again, and they're like, no, don't go to her house, we've got the guy cornered, because she's also blocked him in. So she heard what was happening, blocked his vehicle in. And there was one point where he like even went to grab for a pair of scissors, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with those? I also have to explain, this man was sitting in a car and he was quite a heavy individual. So in my brain, I'd assessed that if he tried anything, I would kick the door shut and run, because there was no way he was gonna catch me. I'm faster at least than him. So at this point, the crowd is now coming around and they just see this little girl yelling at a guy in a car. They're probably like, oh, this is gonna be juicy, whatever it is. He finally admits that he did steal my wallet, that his friend's currently in Walmart using my credit cards to buy more things. At that point, we hear the sirens come in, and not just one, but 3 cop cars come ripping in, because they don't know what's happening. They just know that I've cornered the guy who stole my wallet. They don't know if he's got...
There's a tiny vigilante at Walmart.
Yes. So they come ripping in. Funniest part was the first guy who they sent, like literally he was in SWAT uniform. It was just him. So it wasn't like that big of a deal, but he was literally at my girlfriend's birthday party 2 weeks prior and saw us dancing all drunk and stupid. And he pulls up and he looks at Nicole and I and he's like, you two? And he starts laughing. A couple minutes later, another guy pulls in. That guy, my brother-in-law, is a town councilor in our town. And this police officer knows my brother-in-law. And he's like, are you Peter's sister-in-law? And I'm like, yes, that's me.
Help me.
I know. So anyways, so after all of it happens, they end up arresting the guys and everything. They jokingly offer us a job. They're like, you guys, like, that was pretty, don't ever do it again. Bad, don't do that again. You should be in trouble. But you guys were quick on your feet and you were pretty good. Like, never has this ever happened for us, at least. So that's like a story, a version of me. But that's like a version of me that not everybody gets to see. And then there's a version of me that's the finance brain. I was a stockbroker at 21, and I had this huge ego that I felt I needed to fill because I was working downtown. I was working and back when I was 21, it was still very much like the old boys club. I'd go to lunches it still is, but now they're trying to reform, like we're inclusive. Anyways, so I would be going out for lunches, and I would be the one of 3 females, and I would be the youngest person there by probably about 20 to 30 years. So it was really funny because all of the older gentlemen would be like, I saved you a seat. And one was like, I have to protect you from the others. You have to sit with me. But that made me feel like I really had to actually prove to them that I wasn't stupid, because it was such a different set of people that I was with. So that's actually what led me into the whole NLP and hypnosis and learning how to master language. That's what led me on that journey, is because I felt so inferior and so insecure. And then from there, life unfolded. I took a lot of courses. For a good 7 years, I was taking back-to-back courses. I was getting licenses that I didn't need. I was taking classes and courses to try and better myself, both personally and professionally, because right in 2012, I got married, but in 2013, I was in 3 consecutive car accidents.
Yeesh.
And so that physically messed me up, but then also mentally, I had extreme anxiety about driving. And so that was a big hurdle, and I started undertaking that. Then fast forward years later, when I got pregnant with my son, was starting to announce the pregnancy right before we were planning how we were gonna announce pregnancy. Actually, right before that happened, my house fell apart. And when I say fell apart, I mean it fell apart in a horrific way. What started off with what was a sewer backup issue with a septic tank backup issue into our basement apartment, turned into over $100,000 having to be dumped into our house. And it was not like, you would look at it and you'd be like, oh my God, why is this house gutted? Because it was foundation, it was everything. At the same time, pregnant with my son. So we then announced that we're pregnant, and we're going through it and everything. I start getting sick during the summertime, and I'm told, oh, you're fine, you're just pregnant, it's uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, I am also running a business because I had my financial practice on. That's also the time when one of the companies that we were a major distributor of had the RCMP go in and basically catch them with fraud. Last week, they were actually formally found guilty of fraud. None of us knew. I mean, at least nobody I knew that they were committing fraud. But this was one of the major investments that I was part of. I helped promote it. I helped bring in referral partners. I had multiple millions of dollars of my money, family money, friend money, extended family money in. So my house falls apart. Couple weeks later, my business falls apart. Then couple months later, I am now physically unwell and keep getting told, oh, it's just your first pregnancy. I end up in the hospital. I was at a meeting with a client and I got so sick, I vomited everywhere. And then they're like, you need to go directly to emerge. I went to the hospital. They're like, oh, we don't know what's wrong with you. We think that you could be having a kidney stone, but we're not sure. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital, hooked up to morphine. At this point, I was 8 months pregnant. Finally, 5 doctors later,
That's wild. On morphine while pregnant. Sorry to
yes.
That's wild.
Yes. So as long as you don't give birth within, I think it's a 4-hour period of your last dosage of morphine,
is your child laid back right now?
Pardon?
Is your child laid back right now?
He is a pretty laid back kid, I will say. He's a very laid back kid. That was the joke at the beginning, like, oh, he's a little touch of it's still in there. Yeah. But so I ended up having to have surgery when I was 8 months pregnant. And I remember just going in, I didn't even ask any questions about the surgery they were doing. I'm just like, I'm having surgery. And so I had surgery, went into preterm labor. They stopped it. A week later, they had to actually induce me because he was in duress and the kidney stones were not all gone because I had a 5mm kidney stone and then some other little ones they couldn't get out. So brand new baby. I remember bringing him home and our house was still trenched out because we were like, our basement was a dirt floor again. We didn't even have all the services hooked up to the house anymore. Our house was trenched out. And also, by the way, at the time, I had a dog that had a broken back. He had broken his back before, and he was in a wheelchair. And then I had a cat that was in diapers because I just really love animals that apparently need extra support and love because they are disabled in some way.
Yeah.
So it was
That's how I choose my friends as well.
Exactly, right? So it was a very busy time bringing home a brand new baby. And I remember being like, oh my God, because it was literally to get into our house, you had to
Funny
walk
how the
over.
brain goes to worst case scenario, always.
Oh yeah. It was literally the ramp of death is what
Right.
people refer to the ramp that you had to walk over to get to my front door.
Excellent.
So anyways, so that was that version of that. And then fast forward, business things, some came up, some went down, some failed, some succeeded, did very well in some stuff. Fast forwarding, got pregnant with my daughter and COVID hit. So then I had a COVID baby. And at that time too, I was still rebuilding my business that had crumbled from former business that I had with another business partner. Everything kind of just went south. And then started to rebuild from there. And then I was at the height. I was doing really, really good. I had all these amazing goals and plans set out. And it was August, almost 2 years ago, 2 years ago this August. It's doing really great. And then randomly one day, my dad had cancer. He did have cancer. I took him to his immunotherapy. Everything was fine. He's great. He's good. Took him to the immunotherapy on the Wednesday. The middle of the night, the Tuesday, the middle of the night Wednesday, I get a phone call. My dad had tripped when he went to the bathroom and my mom thought he broke his wrist. He was fine. I showed up to the house, and because he had an oxygen tank and everything from the cancer treatment, but again, I must stress, he was doing well. The cancer had actually shrunk. He was always going to have cancer, but he was doing good. The treatment was working for prolonging his life. I literally get there, we're talking, I'm like, we should go to the hospital. I think you do have a broken wrist. Let's get you together. And I'm convincing him to go. Then it didn't seem like it was safe for us to transport him. We needed someone because it was just my mom and I at the time. My sister was working. We called the ambulance. They came and picked him up, brought him to the hospital. Again, totally fine. We're in emerge. We were in emerge for 2 days, and they continued monitoring his vitals, his oxygen. When you are dealing with somebody who has lung cancer and COPD, you must keep their oxygen levels at a certain rate. I kept saying to them, hey, keep it low. You have to keep it around 91, 92. That's the magic spot. Finally, fast forwarding to Thursday night, we finally get a room. He's being transported upstairs. And we had been there the entire time. One of us was there the entire time that he was in the emerge area because our hospitals are so overrun, very difficult to get into a room. So we were there the entire time, monitoring, helping, all that stuff. So Thursday night, I'm the last person with him, and I'm chatting with him. We were talking about his chart said that he would likely be let go home on Tuesday because they felt that he had a little bit of a cold starting, and because he was on immunotherapy and he'd been exposed to so much in the ER, they wanted to monitor him, give him some antibiotics kind of in advance, manage the situation. So we're talking about what kind of food I should go grocery shopping for to bring home for my mom and him for the Tuesday and everything like that. All good. I leave around 10:30 that night, goes to bed. Things are great. That morning, before I start my work day, my mom says, yeah, the nurse said that he ate a full breakfast. He's doing good. About 9:45, I get a phone call. And as phone call comes in, I get 3 phone calls in a row, and I was on a business call, so I didn't pick up right away. And then I'm like, I better pick this up. This is too many calls. It's not. My mom says, the doctor's going to be calling you in a minute. Your sister's coming to pick you up in a minute. Your dad's in respiratory failure. And I was like, what? It didn't make sense. None of it. I couldn't process it. I just couldn't understand it. And I remember making the phone call to my husband, and he couldn't even process it. He was at a golf tournament, and he's like, do I come now? Do I come later? And I'm like, no, he's dying. And then he understood. So anyways, we rushed to the hospital. Basically what happened was he had carbon dioxide poisoning. The hospital had stopped monitoring his oxygen levels because he wasn't critical. He had just a broken wrist. And they had him in oxygen, but obviously somewhere there, somebody wasn't monitoring things, and they had his oxygen levels at a 97. And you can't expel the carbon dioxide when you have COPD. So literally, we get there and he could barely function because that carbon dioxide causes you to hallucinate. And they had to explain to us the next steps. And the next step was, we are fighting to get you into the hospice. There's hours to days, and we're going to try and just make this as comfortable as possible. And it was horrible. So that happened. And that was, I was very close with my father. We have a very, very close family. And so that was the first, I've experienced loss before, but that was the first really hard-hitting one. And I have an amazing network of people like Kyla, you were even amazing too. Like, I have an amazing network of people that just stepped up and supported. So I was okay. I was managing, processing. Then we decided to do a family trip in my dad's honor because he's an important person to us. And so at the end of November, we did a trip to the Dominican because he loved going to the Dominican. My husband's family, my family, we went together. My dog was being watched by a very close family friend of ours. And the night we came home, I was literally in the airplane and she said, hey, and my dog was also like my beloved little dog. Like he 80% of my day was spent touching him because he would sleep on my feet as I worked, like just very integrated. So then we were in the air, like literally in the airplane, and the lady says to me, hey, Norman's acting a little funny. And I'm like, okay, well, what's happening? She told me, she's like, oh, he's acting a little sulky, and I'm like, oh, he might just be not feeling great, or he might just be, really missing us. Do you want me to come pick him up tonight? And she's like, no, I think he's okay. If anything changes, because she gets up very early to work, she's like, if he's not okay when I wake up in the morning, I'll call you right away. So literally keep in mind, when my dad died, the phone call came in at 3:30. Phone call comes in at 3:30 that morning, and she's like, he's gone. And I'm like, what? He had died. So my dog had died. So I was like, oh my God, like that was just 2 major losses in literally a month and a half, almost 2 months of each other. And then the holidays come. And right after my dad passed away was Thanksgiving, like all of that stuff was just in a very condensed time. And then it was Christmas. And right at Christmas time, there was like not my family, but there was some stuff that happened with other family that was also a very big event. And then come February, my uncle passes away. So I went from being ready to hit the ground running in August to having to be in actual survival mode because I had 2 kids I still had to take care of. My husband has a business too. I had life I had to still manage. I had, my financial business. I had my coaching clients that I was still trying to navigate through. And so I had to very quickly rely on tools that I had learned to even be able to function because I am a master at compartmentalizing now, which is good and bad. Because in order to be able to function, and like you saw me, Kyla, you saw me at the hockey rink, just in tears because they hit so hard. And they were just such important things in my life. And of course, life happens in between. During that time period, my husband, he has slipped discs in his back and he was having a back flare up. So as I was trying to survive, my husband was also having a very physically hard time, which also affects you mentally. Anybody who suffers from chronic pain understands how debilitating it is and how it actually changes your mindset. Mm-hmm. And so I practice what I preach because I don't think I would have ever survived getting to where I am now without doing that stuff. And that's why we're on the reversion of the podcast too. It's because so much changed for me in the last year and a half that I am a different person at my core, and things that matter to me are different too. And that's why this is the platform where I want to promote other people. I want to show how awesome they are and like resilience in life because, well, if I don't know it, life happens to you and sometimes it can throw you some pretty rough curveballs. So going back to the original question, Adam, that you asked, my origin story, I've got like 5 versions of it. And it all just depends on which part of my life you want to know about. I'm an open book, but which part?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, this is a show and everybody has their preconceived notions on how a show is supposed to go and what we're doing with a podcast and all that sort of stuff. And it sounds to me like you are an individual who has everything, at least on the surface, completely under control. It's the image that you must maintain that you are doing it. But here we have a beautiful representation of what life really is. Yeah. To anyone who's been following you, you see this image, this visage of a woman. But what you shared here, and the best thing is, I shouldn't say probably, I 100% understand that you had no intention on sharing any of that, because as the host of a show, you focus on your guests, and I kind of picked up on that, and I knew that it would probably be best for your show if there was a moment where you had the opportunity to share a piece of you with your audience you may not have done in the past. So yeah, I mean, I really liked hearing all that, and yeah, you absolutely should write a book. I'm going to throw a shameless plug out there. If you are writing a book, or anybody you want to know is writing a book, head on over to thementalmasteryalliance.com and go ahead and click that link. We'll write a book for you.
That's exactly what it's about, right?
This is one of the fun things that I love. We were talking earlier about sort of what you offer and what businesses are out there and what you can do. And there's always something. There's always some way to make money. And I've always loved writing, and it's been really fun. The clients that we've picked up for book writing. So we write books. We do ghostwriting. We write and publish books. And your average ghostwriting and publishing is anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. We've been offering it. So the first round of people, because we were sort of getting new with it, we were offering it for $3,000, which was amazing. Yeah. And everybody got their book written, and I had a lot of fun understanding and learning and all that sort of stuff. It won't be $3,000 moving forward because that was a lot of work, but it was really cool to play with that and to learn that and to create something for somebody, because the hardest thing that you can do is talk about yourself, and then especially write about yourself and then properly punctuate, and then you sort of get lost in your own thing. So I love it. I love doing that. And it's just neat to be able to hand somebody back a copy and be like, here, you gave me like a point form relative idea of what your life was. Now we've crafted a story, and now we're selling it to the masses. And one of the greatest things a coach can have is a book. It's better than a business card. You either give it away, you sell it for cheap, whatever it is, but it's a sample. And the greatest thing in the world is once it's done, once you've actually manufactured this, once you put this together, it's an essence of you out there. And this brings me back to one of my favorite lessons. There's a lot of people have seen this. You guys may have as well. It's a professor standing in front of a classroom, and he pours a bunch of rocks into a glass jar, and he says, now, do you guys think that we can get any more rocks in? And to anyone that hasn't heard this story, I'll finish it. And the class says, no, you can't. So he pours smaller rocks in, and that fills it right to the top. And he says, now, do you think we can get any more rocks in? And the class says, no, not a chance. And then he pours sand in and fills it up a little bit more. And he goes, now, do you think we can get anything else in this jar? And they're like, no, it's absolutely full. And then he starts pouring water in. And so the illusion is there's always more that you can do. There's always something like that. Now, the real rub for me, and the best part about this, is the second statement was he pours a mason jar filled with water, and he says to the class, can we get any more in here? And the class says, absolutely not. And he takes the jar that's full of water and he dumps it into a basin, and then he pours in another, he fills it up again. And he goes, this is all brand new. And this is something that always stuck with me. And it's the main reason I do my writing. It's the main reason I do my creating. It's the main reason I do the podcast. And it's the podcast becomes the basin. There's no longer a need to create for them, which is how it all starts. What do the people want to hear? I'm going to create that. And what it merges into is, what do I need to say? And when you push this out there, and when you keep dumping yourself into the basin, and you have the opportunity to fill up more of the mason jar, that basin exists. You've taken that information in and you've created. You can go back to it. It's out there. It's in the world. It exists out there. You can go and listen to that version of you. Like if you went back to my episode 120, for example, my show, I'm totally different than who I am today. But that version of me exists. And because that version of me exists, and because it's out there, and because it's a piece of creation, what comes into me next is there's room for what comes into me next. So it's a constant flow of things through me. And that to me is amazing. And that is also a piece of advice that I'll give to anyone who is going to get into coaching, anyone who's going to get into anything, self-improvement, anything like that. Allow yourself creative avenues in any way, shape, or form, whether it's painting with your fingers, painting with somebody else's fingers, playing the guitar, whatever it is that you do or want to do or create or do, anything like that. It allows you to get it out and to bring new and more stuff in. And growth is the name of the game here. I love that.
I mean, circling it back to you, Kyla, too, like you're in such a growth journey that you're taking in all of these different modalities and trying out all new things. This is why I always love hearing, like, what are you doing now? Tell me about the coolest thing where are you going, and all of that fun stuff, because growth is so important in our lives. Like I heard once, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think that, you know, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that sounds like such a cliche, or that's a strong statement. But you know, I get it now. As I'm older, you have to keep growing, because if you don't, you become stagnant, and then you do start to retreat. You get smaller, you lose your spark.
100%. I always say if we're not growing, we're shrinking. There's no just staying in the same place.
100%.
Yeah.
The greatest quote in the world is, or not in the world, but one of the greatest quotes is, if you may be on the right track, but if you're not moving forward, you're going to get hit by the 6 o'clock train.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I think I might borrow that from you, Adam.
By all means, en joie. But yeah, so I mean, this world is creation. This world is abundance. This world is absolute magic. We are magicians. We have the ability to create absolutely anything. We have total abundance and an unlimited amount to create with, and we create fear, tiny little boxes, division, confusion. This is what we've chosen to create. You can change all of that. All of it can be changed with a couple of choice words, a couple multiple choice, energy shifts, a nice steak, good stuff.
I actually want to ask, because before we wrap up and I give your handles and everything, I want to ask you, because I love that you just said about magic, and something I'm trying to instill, something that's so wonderful about children is they see magic in everything. So I'm trying to relearn and talk about magic. If you could say what your magic power is, Adam, what is your magic power? Like if you could choose one thing that's your magic power.
Like, what do I want or what can I do?
Both. I want to hear both. I want to hear what you do, and then I want to hear the magic power you want, because I'm really interested in that too.
I think flying would be fun. Just be a fun thing to just fly. And you can fly. Keep your eyes open in a nice bright pond, and you're in the atmosphere of water. You're technically flying. So I like that a lot. And anything is doable. Anything's possible. I firmly believe that our truths have been stolen from us and sold back to us in the form of movies. So, Superman can fly. He's always been able to fly. Maybe we just haven't been taught how to do it. They built the pyramids, and that was all vibration that moved those rocks. Those rocks weren't touching the ground. They were levitating. We have the ability to do all these things. The technology, I shouldn't say technology, the design and frequency in here comes from Tartarians. This is why the organs were in the churches. This is why all of those stuff that was sold to us as Gothic cathedral stuff is all energetic resonance. And being able to tap into that, there is no proof that I can't fly. So is it possible? Yes, one day I would like to. What is my superpower now? I have the ability to see right through anyone. And that is a blessing and a curse. And there's a lot of times where if you try to explain something to somebody, they don't want to hear it, or they don't even know it themselves. They either argue it or what have you. But when you can see through people and situations, and you can connect different dots, I mean, if we're not talking about people, if we're going to talk about situations, you'll see a lot of the people out there right now, they'll talk about what's going on politically or what's going on financially out there. And it's just like, follow the dollar. You'll see who's what with the dollar. But this world is not following the dollar. The powers that be have created the dollar. They don't need it. They need you to believe in it so that you're controlled by it.
Yep.
And so when you're not following the dollar, when you're following the energy, when you're following the discourse, when you're following the understanding and the comprehension of this world, you realize that they can't, quote unquote, win the way that we think that they are, which means that it's not a motivating factor. They're not here for money. When I say they, I'm referring to, in third dimensionally, I'm referring to the they that we all know, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs, Trilateral, all of these people. This is the they.
Yeah.
When you get more fifth dimensionally, you realize that the they can only possibly exist through you, which then makes you the they, which then makes all of this the learning experience, which then makes every single thing that you're doing, both good and bad, something that you pre-programmed. You want to talk about that, you can get into Carol and Miss and talk about soul contract. This whole thing is presented for you, the entirety of existence. It's also the multiverse. That's how the multiverse exists. The multiverse is me, Kyla, we're all playing in the same sandbox here, but we've all got different perspective, which is your universe, my universe, this universe, which is where the Mandela effect comes in. We crisscross between universes at will. So this whole place is magic. And we sit here with our limiting beliefs, and anyone that can think freely, usually we mock, we're trained to mock. Anyone that says anything outside of what you were taught in school is fair game for you to be made fun of. Yeah. And every single person that wants to make fun of you doesn't necessarily need to be in your life. This may be controversial, but anyone that wears a face mask while driving their own car is somebody that I know firsthand that I don't need to talk to in the real world. And so this is one of those things. If you're driving a cyber truck, I don't need to talk to you. I understand that you're completely wrapped up in the third dimension, and I applaud you and I love your life. But for me to keep moving forward on my life, I have to see the markers in people that are going to spark my brain to create more, to do more, to be more. And then other times you'll hear people say, well, who are you to be so-and-so judge, jury, and commissioner about who these people are? You can't just judge somebody because they're driving a Tesla. Well, I can. I can, because in my life is my space. In my life, I'm here to create. And one of the greatest books in the entire world that every single person on the planet should read if they haven't already is The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. And the minute you understand to take nothing personally, when you truly understand that, you realize that nothing is here. So for anyone to tell me, hey, who are you to be judge, jury, and executioner? And I can say to them, look, your opinion is yours and you're completely entitled to it. And you're coming at me from your own trauma. It bothers you that I have the ability to do that, and you're sharing with me your perspective. You're not actually saying, hey, you're wrong and I need you to change. Maybe you are, but what I'm hearing is I don't have the ability to do what you're doing, and I think you should stop doing it. And this is where you get into NPCs, non-player characters. This is where you get into the more magic of this realm, being like every single time you try to do something, step forward, move into a different direction, the world will stop you. The NPCs could be your mother, could be anybody. When they don't have the ability to think freely and openly, you understand who they are. You get a gauge from them. You can appreciate them for the messages that they're sharing with you, but they're not something you have to overly focus on. And we are coming up to 1:45, so I'm going to stop talking. I know Carla.
No, absolutely fascinating. Honestly, we are doing this again. We are going to be jumping on, and we are going to absolutely be doing this again because it has been an absolutely fascinating. I want to pick your brains more, but I wanted to bring this back to Kyla. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because you are looking at all these different modalities, you're growing, you're learning, you're spiritual, and also Adam, you're spiritual too.
Mhm.
If you had a business card, if your soul had a business card, what would your title be on there? What would it say about you?
Not all those who wander are lost, maybe. I don't know. Lost and happy. I feel like I'm in a lot of places at once, but very happy doing them all. And I think that, again, is like the meaning of life, finding time and space for all the things that are important to you and that allow you to create.
And how about you, Adam? Any ideas what your soul's business card would say?
Spiritual entertainer.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Next time we're diving more into that. I would love to hear more about it.
The Cole's
But for
notes on
now-
spiritual entertainer, I can actually drop it. Spiritual
Yeah,
entertainer
do
is,
it.
I'm here to make you smile. I'm here to make you think. I'm not here to be taken seriously, unless you absolutely need it to be taken seriously. I am here to just simply challenge the status quo, and I will entertain you as I do it with my voices and my faces and my energy.
I love that.
And
That was awesome.
It's all true about him too.
I believe it. No, I have had an incredible time with you guys today. So thank you both so much for joining me. I am very appreciative. And for our listeners, we're going to have all of their information linked in the bio below so that you'll be able to access them, follow them, get to know more Adam, get to know more Kyla. And always, thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, please do post them below because we'll be happy to answer them. So thank you again, guys, for joining me. And I'm looking very forward to booking another time to chat with you more.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, Cole. Thank
Glad
you.
to be here.
Guys,
Hey.
take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.